You hear the name Nostradamus, and you immediately think of these wild, cryptic prophecies, right? For almost 500 years, the guy's been the go-to for spooky predictions. But here's the thing. There's a huge mystery that almost nobody talks about. We're not going to just look at what he predicted today. No, we're going to try and unlock the secret of how he actually did it. How did he see the future?
So, what's our game plan for cracking this thing? Well, first up, we're going to dig into the whole Nostradamus enigma. Then, we'll look at a super important clue he actually left for us. After that, we'll break down the tools he used, check out this divine connection he talked about, and wrap it all up by asking the big one. Was this a ritual, or was it a genuine revelation?
All right, first things first, the Nostradamus enigma, separating the man from the myth. So who even was this guy, Michel de Nostradamus? Well, he was a 16th century French astrologer, and also a physician, believe it or not. And his big claim to fame is his book, Les Prophéties, a book that's had people scratching their heads for centuries. You've probably heard of his little poems, the quatrains. They're so cryptic and weird that you could interpret them a million different ways.
Yeah, we all know the big claims, right? That he predicted basically everything from world wars to modern disasters, but that's not the real mystery. The real question isn't what he saw, it's how. How in the world did he do it? Was it a gift from God? Some kind of super calculated method? Turns out the secret isn't in the predictions themselves, it's in the process.
Okay, now for the really juicy part, a quatrain's clue. And get this, it seems like Nostradamus himself might have left us a key. It's buried in his very first chapter, what he calls a century. And there's this one quatrain, this one little verse, that's totally different from all the others. It doesn't predict anything. Instead, it looks like he's telling us exactly how he did it. It's like a secret how-to guide, hidden right there in plain sight.
All right, here it is, Century I, Quatrain 2. The wand in the hand is placed in the middle of the tripod. He sprinkles water and the hem of his garments. Voice, fear, trembling in his divinity. Divine splendor, the god sits nearby. Wow, okay. It's pretty poetic, super mysterious, right? But this is our best clue. So let's really tear this thing apart.
All right, let's put on our detective hats here, the tools of prophecy. The first couple of lines of that quatrain, they're like a description of a crime scene. They lay out a physical setup, a bunch of actions and objects. So what were the actual tools he used? Let's break down the evidence, piece by piece.
So the quatrain gives us a super clear step-by-step sequence. This isn't just random stuff he's doing. It's a deliberate two-part physical setup. Step 1, place the wand. Step 2, sprinkle the water. It's all a very methodical preparation for, well, whatever comes next.
First up, the wand. Now, why a wand? We're not talking about some Harry Potter magic here. In a lot of old traditions, a wand is basically an antenna. It's a tool for directing your focus, for channeling energy. So when he puts it in the middle of the tripod, it looks like he's setting up a very specific focal point for the whole ritual.
And then there's the tripod. This is a big one. It's not just some three-legged table. The tripod is this hugely powerful symbol. It immediately makes you think of the ancient Greek oracles, right? The oracle at Delphi. She sat on a tripod to get her visions from the gods. So by using one, Nostradamus is basically saying, hey, I'm doing the same kind of thing as the most famous seers in all of history.
And last but not least, the water. He sprinkles it on his clothes. This is classic ritual 101. So what's it for? Maybe it's for purification, cleaning himself up before he tries to talk to a higher power. Or maybe it has to do with scrying, which is when you gaze into water to see visions. Whatever the reason, the key takeaway here is that a very specific physical stage has now been set.
Okay, so the physical stage is set. Let's move on to the second half of this verse. This is where things get really wild. Because once the ritual is all set up, Nostradamus describes this huge shift. He goes from doing stuff on the outside to this incredibly intense experience on the inside. The prep work is done, and now the main event begins. And you can see the connection so clearly here. On one side, you have the physical stuff, the wand, the tripod, the water. These are the triggers, the catalysts. And on the other side, you have what they produce, the voice, the fear and trembling, the divine splendor. It's a direct cause and effect. This isn't really about the objects themselves, it's about what they unlock inside his head.
So what's the very first thing that happens? Get this, it's not something he sees, it's something he hears. A voice. He says a voice speaks. This is huge. It suggests the prophecies or the information didn't start as a movie in his head, but as an auditory message, like a whisper from somewhere else.
And how does he react to this voice?
Well, his reaction is instant, and it is primal, fear. This is not some calm, peaceful meditation, no way. This experience is so powerful, it's terrifying. It really gives you the sense that he's in contact with something huge and totally beyond his control.
And then it gets physical. The experience literally takes over his body. Trembling, he says. This is a real, physical reaction to all that spiritual energy he's feeling. So the fear isn't just in his mind, it's making his whole body shake. It's like he's become a conduit for something way too powerful to handle.
And it all builds up to this one final, mind-blowing moment. After the voice, the fear, the trembling, then comes the light. Divine splendor. He feels this absolutely overwhelming presence, and he's totally certain that the God sits nearby. This is it. This is the peak of the whole experience.
So, let's step back for a second. What does all this tell us? By just breaking down this one little verse, we've gone from the vague legend of Nostradamus to a super detailed blueprint of how he worked. We've literally traced his journey from a guy setting up tools in a room to someone feeling a divine presence.
So here it is, the whole process laid out. You've got the specific physical setup with the wand and tripod, then a purification thing with the water. That kicks off what sounds a lot like an auditory hallucination, a voice. Then comes this intense physical reaction, fear and trembling. It all peaks with this visual climax of divine splendor and this feeling of being connected to a higher power. It's a full-on psycho-spiritual journey from A to Z.
And all of this brings us to the big final question. What exactly are we looking at here? Prophecy, poetry, or psychology? Was Nostradamus really describing a surefire way to see the future? Or was he just a brilliant poet, using amazing metaphors to talk about his own creative process? Or, and this is a cool one, was he kind of an early psychologist who figured out a repeatable way to put himself into a powerful, altered state of mind? The answer? Well, just like his prophecies, that's up for you to decide.